What's going on, world? It's your boy Alex Miner, and welcome to 1,000 Miles. They say the journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step, and that's what we are here to talk about. The single steps that business owners take on their journeys, the things that they have learned, the lessons that they have had and wish to pass on. So today's guest on the inaugural episode is the one and only Diana Gladney, and I don't think I could do her justice if I was to try to introduce her and tell all her accomplishments and things that she's done. So I will let her do the honors herself. Diana, can you please introduce yourself to the people?
What is up, guys? First of all, I just want to thank my brother from another mother, Alex. Thanks for having me on the first podcast episode, man. It's an honor to be here for sure. It's a lot of great things I know sure to come on this here audio channel. So, man, I guess introduction-wise, I'll give you the short version. My name is Diana Gladney, native out of St. Louis, Missouri, and I am a videographer and a video editor professionally, and running my own company, doing my own thing. Went full-time in my business from my full-time job, finally going full-time into my passion earlier this year, May of 2019, May 10th to be specific. And so I'm super pumped, proud, and thankful and grateful to God for everything that He's done for me. And life has been amazing thus far. And everything after that, I guess we'll jump into somewhere along the roads. But that's the short end of things.
And just to backtrack a little bit on how me and Diana connected was through the YouTubes, through the internets. I came across her channel, which was called Entree Woman TV, right? Okay, and I always wanted to make sure I pronounced that right if I ever had to say it. So, yes, we made it. But it seemed like on that channel you were trying to help people on their entrepreneurial journey. At first it seemed like it was just business tips and tricks and strategies and things, but it's kind of morphed over the last year or two. So can you tell me like where it started, how you wanted it to start, and what it's turned into?
Yeah, man, it's funny about starting this YouTube channel, Entree Woman TV, because it was not intended to be a YouTube channel. It was just where, first of all, my business coach was telling me when I first was starting in just business consulting, which is why it was just more business focused, because it was just supposed to host my videos for my website. And so, I was needing to get better and learning how to do videos, how to, start to share my message using video. And I wasn't even taking pictures. Like, I just was not that girl. So he's like, well, you got to start doing videos. And I was like, cool. He's like, so just think of YouTube like a free hosting video website platform where you can upload your stuff, never ever mentioning about like YouTube as a business side of things, or just like none of that. So I didn't start my YouTube channel for it to be like a YouTube channel. And when I started doing videos, just for my consulting business, and it's like, yeah, I'm getting clients and I have my podcast going and stuff like that. But at the same time, when I started doing, because he was just like, you start with your phone. He did probably over 400 something videos at the time, just using his smartphone, had courses, just like an amazing coaching business, like a decade, just solely, in his coaching business. So I'm like, okay, I guess I don't need much more than a phone. And so I would see people in like this coaching group sharing their videos, and this one dude, he kept mentioning like a DSLR camera and this, that, or whatever every so often, and I just would notice like his videos were way better than the rest of our videos, and I'm trying to figure out like what is this? First of all, what does DSLR stand for? Like, what is that? And then secondly, like, what do I need to do to get my videos to look like that? Because I am not I didn't know anything about 1080p or nothing. I think I had some videos like 360p, 480p, 720p, and then it's just like, oh, okay, HD, 1080p. I'm like, okay. And so just figuring life out about videos, the way I actually got into YouTube in general was just by way of that. So trying to figure out what that was. So when I heard all the tech term like ISO, aperture and exposure triangle, all of that stuff it sounded so foreign. I'm like, yeah, I'm not about that life. So, I'm like, okay, what can I get not quite that and not try to get into being a videographer, which was funny, like now fast forward, but I'm like, how do I not like become a photographer, videographer, but still get better video? And so just genuinely running into problems that I was having with doing videos with my phone, and then understanding like a whole other world existed. And some of the people on YouTube that also review camera and tech and stuff like that, they were talking about YouTube from a business perspective. So I'm like, so these videos that I like watching, that I've been watching for years, and you see people say, you know, YouTube is their job. And I'm not thinking of like wanting another job, just being YouTube kind of a thing. But I saw the value in creating a business with YouTube and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, so what am I doing in my coaching business? Is basically at the time helping people go from having a 9-to-5 job to starting up your company, and just running a home-based business. What are the questions that people are asking? And by making some of those videos, I would begin to, again, run into more problems like, why is it getting blurry all of a sudden? And then it goes back to, you can see me. So I didn't even know the proper wording or phrasing or none of that. And so I'm like, okay. That works. And then I find search and keep finding and digging and digging. And, you know, fast forward, it led me into buying my first point and shoot camera. And then I'm like, well, I don't want to, you know, sync audio manually. So which ones have the audio input? And so like literally every little question, every problem I ran into, I was using YouTube to find answers. But again, like also getting tapped into YouTube as a business. And so then I really fell in love with the tech stuff, because I'm like, nobody is explaining stuff from the perspective of an entrepreneur that needs to start doing videos for their business in a way that they can understand without needing to be in the profession of photography or videography, or, you know, in the cinema world. There was no half and half. Now you see more people where they talk about the YouTube space and just being quote unquote a YouTuber, but there really wasn't a whole lot of people solely talking about that. They may be a YouTuber, but they're also a videographer, or they're also, you know, a filmmaker or whatever. So, you know, fast forward, what wound up happening was I fell in love with the tech stuff. I was like, this is extremely fascinating. Like, it just like I got bit with the bug and just fell in love with it. And so I transitioned to like, I don't want to talk so much about the business, because also I wasn't getting the kind of clients that I wanted for real. So I was like, if I can find clients that are like maybe 2, 3, 4 years into starting their business already, I can also talk to them about getting started in video stuff, and they're a little bit further along, so they're not having to deal with some of the same hiccups and stuff like that. I just would get burnt out talking about it. And those tech videos did far better. Just like at some of my worst videos, honestly, it's like they did far better than some of the other stuff, just talking about business. So I'm like, well, okay, well, let me lean into this. And so...
Okay,
yeah.
well let me interrupt you real quick so just to make sure everybody understands, you know, kind of the premise of your journey. So you started out as a business coach, helping people start their businesses, and just in the course of that, you started up the YouTube channel just as a repository of information, just to save you time and space and energy with explaining things over and over, right? Okay, and then after that, you just became fascinated with the platform, the technology, everything, and you shifted that direction. And so now, where you're at presently, are you still coaching people? Do you still have that coaching business, or have you shifted completely away from
No, actually, it's like the coaching business still it brings in a nice chunk of my income. And so the thing is, though, still hitting that same target audience. You've been your business for a few years, but you also recognize the purpose of video and stuff like that. And so now it's not about how to set up and really structure your company and some of the things. Because nobody's like, it's like talking about like the logistics and the legal side of things and contract law. Like nobody, like that's not sexy. Nobody likes that. It's just us nerds that like are really into that. And so it's talking about the video marketing aspect of incorporating that into your business, even at that stage. So I still take coaching clients. It's just more heavily into the video marketing side of things. So it's really cool how it's just kind of like morphed over the years.
So you're doing your videography, you're doing your video editing, also you're doing your coaching, you got the YouTube channel. So what kind of segmentation is that in your business? Like what percentage of your income is each of those things, and how has that affected decisions you've made within your business, how you want to move forward, what you want to invest your time in, and what activities on a daily basis are like the most valuable things to you?
So I break that down into a couple different things, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention that I revolve those elements of my business to decide what things I should lean more into versus others based off some health challenges that I have. So for anybody that may be aware, if you're not aware, it's just like, so I battle and have challenges with endometriosis, stage 4 endometriosis, which is a really horrible thing, but it's just like sometimes it makes me more fatigued. Sometimes I get tired, or I'm, just really in a lot of pain. So coaching business like that, at the time I was working my job and I had the coaching business clients that I had on the side. And so at the time, it's like I could make in a few hours with one coaching client what I would make at my job in 2 weeks. So in a pay cycle, I could so I'm like, I don't have to come to work. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm doing it for the benefits now. So that completely shifted my thinking. But the thing is, though, I'm like, this is direct income. And so really understanding the difference between direct and passive income, I wanted to adjust my percentages of my income around what I could afford to do physically. And that didn't mean a whole lot for me. So too many coaching clients, I didn't want that to be 100%. So I started to back off of that. And like once I discovered there's this whole other world of YouTube, then I'm like, okay, I need to lean more into passive income and indirect income versus just the direct income. Like I physically have to be on this call with coaching clients. So that's not a huge portion. I'd say about 75% or so, let's just say 70% or even 80% of my income comes from the video editing and the video production. I couple those kind of together as 80% of my income. And then let's say coaching clients are another 10%. And then YouTube is maybe another 5%, 6 or even 7, depending. And then the rest of that income is other passive income sources. So still a lot of my income comes from like direct income sources. But then too, a nice chunk comes from the passive income sources that I don't physically have to be there. And so what I do is when I want to, and which is kind of baffling maybe to some people, it doesn't always stay like that. I'll fluctuate stuff so that I'm not always having to be 80% present in my company for me to make 80% of my income. Sometimes that may shift to more passive income on different months, or just like, you know what? This is a season where I'm not feeling all that great. I need to really shift things into more passive income styles. And I'll shift towards that for like 30, 60 days or something like that, even 90 days. And that's the push. And so now my income is not 80% of just video editing and videography. It may decrease to like 50, 60, sometimes even 40%. And then some of those other numbers may move up. And again, the reason why I do that is because I wanted my business to revolve around my lifestyle, which is not typical. So I can't always listen to what everybody's advice is because that may not work for me in real life. It sounds cute on the internet, but it may not work for me.
Okay, I get that. I definitely get that. Now, the question would be, if you are intentionally fluctuating the percentages of income from these different sources, do you have the ability to fully compensate for the reduction of one stream versus the other?
What do you mean exactly?
Well, what I mean is like, so you may reduce the amount of your income for a month that's video editing, but do your other streams of income compensate for that? So you're still making the same amount of money. Yeah, just about. Sometimes it's just a little bit shy of that by maybe $100 or $200. And you may say, like, how can you do that on just a whim? And the thing is just about, I think, is like really knowing your audience, knowing where things are, and kind of where the seasons of where the market is. For example, I do a lot around video editing, marketing, and stuff like that. Okay, well, we have CES and NAB coming up and stuff like that. I could batch produce a lot of videos in preparation for that, get some live streams going and stuff like that I know automatically is going to kick the YouTube stuff up. It's going to increase maybe some coaching clients or whatever the case is. You know what I'm saying? I could do some other passive income sources around stuff like the softwares and Amazon Associates, other programs and stuff like that revolve around that world. And so it will compensate for it. If I don't do anything else, it's just like if I do not upload for the month and I just am not feeling it, at base, I will still make at least $500 off YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Just like, so it's like, it's not that hard to scale that a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? At least to just hit your base minimum. That's not living in excess. That's just hitting the base minimum. And speaking of that passive income, How did you get started with that, and what are some of those sources? Just for because I think passive income is a little bit misleading
Mm-hmm.
of a term. I think people think that with passive income, it means literally that you don't have to
Don't have
do
to show up.
anything,
Yeah.
which is not the case.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's why, like, when Gary Vee says, like, there is no passive income, I dig that because there's still work that you have to do to generate that
Okay.
money. So could you break down what kind of passive income you got into, how you first started
Yeah.
doing that, and like what it takes to maintain that, because there are activities that you do have to do to maintain that, but people
Right.
think you don't.
So I think the biggest thing is just like you have to know what a percentage of your physical effort it does require for the majority of it to be passive income. You know what I'm saying? It may be 5 to 10%, maybe even 20% effort, and then you reap the benefits passively of the other, you know what I'm saying, to make it 100. So for me, what I was doing, I started learning about this stuff, and I completely abused my job. I just might as well go ahead and admit it. I completely would abuse.
Well, you ain't there no more, so I don't think it
Right.
matters.
I just completely abused my job. And what I mean by that is like, I could do for what most people are going to do in a day, I could do that by 9 o'clock. So, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, I don't have to put a ton of effort into work. So they would see me watching YouTube videos and wonder like, how is your production so high? It's like, it don't take me that long. So I would abuse the rest of that time because I've given them their time. So in my opinion, I honored it. But what I would do is I would listen to podcasts. I would set up. So I'm huge on journaling and capturing your thoughts and your ideas and things like that. So what I would do is I'm listening to these podcasts. I queue up for the day, for the week. What am I going to learn this week? What courses am I going to invest in that I need to listen to? And all of that stuff. So of course, everybody knows about Pat Flynn, Smart Passive Income and all that stuff. And so I'm like, okay, how do I make this real for me? I'm working a job. I don't have 8+ hours to contribute to this. I can't pull all-nighters all the time. And again, I physically really can't anyway. So how do I make this work for me? So of the things that make sense in my space, in my world, for the people that I'm connecting with, what are you going to need? A website. Who has affiliate programs? WordPress. Easy. Okay, so who maybe can I get? So I'm looking at all the things that I just would make a list. And I'm doing this while I'm at work because it's not against the rules for me to have pen and paper on my desk. So I'm just bringing my own journals. And it's not against the rules for me to have my headphones in and have my phone in my bag listening to whatever. So I would take advantage of that. And I would set up, even if I can't touch my phone, what's the playlist of content that I'm going to listen to for that day. So by the end of the day, not only did I give the company what they needed, but I'm getting what I needed educationally. So I would set up what I need to learn and what can I implement. So I started looking at the things that's just in my space. So again, you're going to do some work. Again, you have the time that you're learning, time that you're investing, time to implement, to figure out, to set up. So you're still going to invest some direct time into learning, into the doing, into the setting up, the email list, which is huge, to start to get some of that stuff rolling. So I started building the email list, again, building the YouTube channel, drawing more people to the email list, getting some type of funneling system together. And so I just looked at the things that I'm using, kind of similar still to what I do today. What microphone am I using? Everybody's going to comment on it. Here's the whole setup. Okay, affiliate. And how can I make income off of that? Affiliate income. Okay, what's a program or software that an entrepreneur that's my ideal target audience member is going to be looking for? What's in their price range? What can I suggest? What content can I create around it? So anything that I'm going to be doing with my direct energy needs to be in contribution to that passive income that I'm going to be generating. So that's what I would look to. And so I would send out something to the email list, for example, when, let's say WordPress would have some kind of program or something going on, or just like, like holiday deal or whatever. And I'm like, okay, what can I do? Again, minimal energy, but bigger payoff. I could host a free WordPress masterclass because I know how hard it was for me to, again, you don't have a lot of time. You may have other challenges, whatever the stuff is for your target audience, playing to those strengths by understanding their needs and their pain points. They don't have the time. Cool. In 1 hour, I will help you not only purchase and set up your website, but I'll walk you through it as well. And you'll have access to the replay. And here's a PDF download or something like that. Still need direct energy to do that stuff, to set it up and set up the links or whatever, but make it as simple as possible so that it's not exceeding maybe 10% of your direct energy. And so that's what I would do. And so if I knew something was coming up, everybody knows Black Friday, 4th of July, the typical sales. If you're on anybody's email list, then you should know what those cycles are and just playing to those strengths. Again, and using what makes sense to that ideal target audience and then creating some income around working within that space.
Very nice. Very nice. And I have to admit, I'm slacking on some of those things that you're talking about. I have no email list, even though I know, and that's really bad because my business is all centered around marketing now, and video marketing specifically. And I'm not the way my business is, the way that I approach my clients is I don't really have like specials or anything that I would be offering like that. But I know that there are ways to leverage an email list and marketing campaigns to my benefit. So I do need to
So the thing
get on
is,
that.
I want to touch on that. I don't want to leave off that too quick because I know there's other people that are in that same boat. So if you do not have an email list, it's not just to say, well, you need to get one and here are the reasons why. The thing with that, though, too, is to understand, like, I haven't sold an online course or online product thing in a long little while because I'm doing other stuff. But the thing is, it's still growing and building. And the thing is that even if you don't necessarily have something to sell, because how can I put my services on sale? How do it's not going to require me less energy to hold the camera because it's, it's 4th of July. So it's just like, I don't do that kind of stuff either. But at the same time, it's in preparation for it and kind of just counting the cost of building the tower, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? So with that, it's still providing value. If they're coming to you for that, chances are they may be trying their hand at doing video stuff. And the same is for anybody's market. Even if you're selling necklaces, chances are they may not be aware of the different kinds of metal and how somebody's skin may react to this one, or they think, I've seen this person's neck turn green. I don't want that to happen to me. And it's just like, no, that person has this whatever specific skin condition, or I saw a keloid on somebody's ear. I don't want that to happen to me, so I don't want to do this. And just like, no, here's what happened. It's just providing information and value. I always lead with the premise of them first. So even though I'm not necessarily selling to anything, what is it to me to schedule out a couple emails to go out every single month or every single week? Take some time to schedule those out to provide value to them first based off of where they are. So again, it always goes back to like knowing your audience and where they are and just kind of putting that stuff to work, even if you don't have something to sell yet.
Okay, and just to add on to that, a lot of people are probably not building email lists just because they don't know how. So how are you driving people to your email list? What is your technique, or where are you promoting that, and like how are you getting people onto your email list when you say you're still growing it, but you're not offering courses, you're not offering products necessarily? So what is it that you are doing to get people to sign up?
For me, I sometimes do stuff that's unconventional because I've tried it at different times and like put it to work and let not I tried it once and it just didn't work. Like, no, really working stuff, because again, doing it since 2016, running my coaching company, is just like, okay, I'm doing all the things. So it's about figuring out, again, what is it and where is it that your target audience is, and what are their pain points. I understand video. If nothing else, they get value out of learning a simplified way of understanding video so that you can begin to move your vision forward using video. The fact that I have tutorials, tips, and stuff like that, I have not done any additional videos on the Canon M50, but that does not mean they are not still getting tips and screenshots of, hey, here's a thing, or here's a question that somebody in the comments asked, and I'm sending it out to the masses so that you guys get value to it first. Or, you know what I'm saying, something like that. But the way that I'm building that up is, again, you kind of want to pay attention. Like if you're on YouTube, whatever that wide scope is, you have to know when you're going wide and when you're going deep. Okay, so I do some videos with the intent specifically to go wide. It's really researched. The thumbnail is going to be pretty okay. And I'm saying pretty okay because it's like I'm not like how some people spend 3 hours on a thumbnail. That's not my life. So, the thumbnail's pretty okay. But the content is going to be stellar. It's been researched. It's been, I'm saying, like this video has been put to work. Keyword research, like the whole nine. I watched and researched other videos, all of that. So when that video is cast out to go wide and that video is doing its job, it's going to either seed for certain things or link for certain things. So I'll use, like I did that whole M50 series, starting off with the premise that there is a free guide to help you get more professional looking video in a very simple way, that you can do this today, a quick win for them, not for me, for them, that's solving a problem and a pain point. Here you go. In addition to, here's 30 plus videos on how to use this camera. It's a no-brainer. I gave value to them first. Even if you don't sign up, there's 30 plus videos on how to do this. You don't have to do 30 plus videos, but whatever that value to them first is on your YouTube channel, on your Facebook, whatever, links to that in the description. So I'm not sending like constantly like here, it's this, that, like I don't even have to do that. Nor even in the beginning, prior to that, I would, keep bashing the email list or whatever. I just kept changing the offer because at first it did not work. Probably like my first 4 anythings that I downloaded, was 4 or 5 even. They sucked and they did not work, but I was trying to figure it out. And so you figure out, is it the copywriting, the headline, that wasn't getting them? And those sucked. And that could be a reason why. Not necessarily content is bad, but the headline is bad. So working on that stuff. So you just got to keep trying and keep grinding it out until you figure it out. But then too, I was putting money back of my thing that I wanted, investing in copywriting courses, investing in the books, listening to the podcast, and then investing the time in it to get it better. So now that thing is kind of like on auto, and it's just stuff coming in. There's a few hundred people that subscribe every single month, and I'm not doing anything else. I did the work up front. So even if you only have, let's say 50 videos, I don't want to say even if you only have, but if you've put in the work, you've done 20, 30, 40, 50 videos, be intentional about those and know which ones you want to cast out wide, so that when you do other videos, maybe they can't get as wide, you can go deeper. And so those things begin to matter more, because it's like, dang, you're spending so much time, like the live streams, for example. You're spending so much time with me. You're giving me so much, this, that, or whatever. If I get access to you via email, I already trust that you're not going to waste my time. So it's things like that, not just understanding the marketing side of things, but I also like to tap into the human element of things that make sense psychologically as well for that person on the other end, to still tap into that them first value proposition.
Ooh, you just laid a lot on the people right there. I don't know if they might need some time to process that. Like, I think I need some time to process that. You just like, woo.
With time, and that's the thing. Like, I don't want to talk like I'm so great, and I'm, what I'm saying? Like, I hope that doesn't come off, because the thing is, like, everybody thinks like, oh, you got a talent for this, you got to, no, it's like all skills are learnable, which means there's not anything that I just said or I've done that can't be duplicated. All skills are learnable.
No, I get that. Yeah, I think a lot of people might not try certain things because they think that you have to be naturally gifted. I think, me personally, because I've done music, I do video, I've everything that I've done in my life that I've made money at, any significant type of money at, was not something I was naturally gifted at. It was something I had to work super hard to learn the skills at, that I had to become kind of obsessed about to get anywhere with it, because when you first walk in the door, you suck. And I think the culture that we have come up in, folks in our age range, especially like, and younger. So I'm saying like folks in that, 20 to 40 age range. I think the way the world is, we kind of expect everything to be now, or we want everything to be now. So that important element of patience and perseverance has really been lost to a certain extent. And that's important, because you're not gonna, there's very few people who are gonna knock it out of the park the first time, and so you got to be willing to take your lumps and keep at it. It's kind of like that what was it, that line from one of those last Rocky movies where he's like, it's not about how hard you hit, it's about hard you can get hit and then get back up. That's what
it's
it
like,
is.
I remember having conversations. Like, I remember, like, specifically driving down this highway with my mom. We were on our way to this training class. And And again, it was like something else I had invested in. It's just like, I was not shy. And I was not making a whole lot of money at the time. I was probably making $25,000 a year. And so like, I would just invest in, I'm like, man, I could eat at mama house. I don't care. Like, for real, I was stuck in a payday loan game. Like, it was bad. But I would just keep investing in stuff. But I would keep putting the stuff to work. And I'm like, man, it's going to compound at some point. But I remember just like this one specific time, I was so pissed, and I was just like, and I was just driving anger, you know. So she was like, "What is your problem?" And I was like, "Man, I keep failing." I was like, "This stuff ain't working," and I was like, I can't do it. Like, it's like something like, man, I'm just failing. Like, I'm sick of failing." And she just reminded me, because again, it's just like, I would listen to personal development nonstop. You could not find me without my headphones in my ear, and I would be mad if somebody interrupted me. Like, I would listen to them in my sleep. You know what I'm saying? I was working with mentors and coaches. I was reading books. Every year I was going to the book fair. Like, I was just like, I wanted no excuses of my own effort as to why I was failing. So the fact that I still was failing, and I'm just like, yo, where the ratio at? Where the number game at? At some point, this got to kick in and things got to change. And I was just like, I'm tired of failing. She was like, you read John Maxwell books, right? And I'm like, of course. She was like, so you understand the concept of failing forward. She said, you're not failing backwards. You're not continuing to go backwards. And she's like, yeah, you may have some missteps, but you got to fail forward. And so I quit on myself so many times, it's pathetic. But the amount of times that I have quit is just like, I have that many more times where I kept going and just kept pushing through. Because again, I just wanted it to not, it's like my whole thing, like, and I love Grant Cardone. He has a book called Be Obsessed. And it's just like, that's the thing. It's just like, you have to be obsessed, not with necessarily winning, but like the reason and the why behind what you're doing. If you don't have a for real purpose behind what you're doing, it's just like, you will never keep going. And that's the one thing, like, I still have a purpose. I still have a reason for living. I still have, because honestly, you will get like super depressed. It's just like, if you fail enough, you will start to go down the gutter. And so, like, I was just like, I still have a purpose. I still have a reason for living. Like, there is a need for what I'm doing. This is like, and I would just have to keep chanting that to myself all the time. And it's just like, if you are not willing to scrape your face against the pavement because you fell like that many times, it's just like, it's like, do you want it for real? You know what I'm saying? Like, do you have a purpose and a reason why you're doing back of what you're doing? And if not, that may be why it's not happening too, because you're not committed. Like, you're not, people say, well, I'm giving it everything I got. Sometimes that's not enough. You have to give it more. You have to push beyond your limits. What you think your limits is, you have to give more. And I think that's the hardest thing about entrepreneurship.
This is exactly the type of stuff that I want to, expose people to, because, and I mean, your business right now is pretty much a one woman shop, right? Or do you have employees or anything like that? Do you use freelancers?
No, it's like, so I'll take that back. So I started hiring a personal assistant, started, getting ready to hire editors. Now it's just like praying about where my next direction is for this next year. And it's just like, okay, that wasn't the direction. So I went ahead and pulled back on that. So I have had, some, again, assistants and freelancers that I'll hire for certain things. And sometimes I still do, but it's for a specific thing. But otherwise, yeah, one woman show.
And so what have you decided on for that next step, for that next direction? Because, 1,000 miles sounds like you on mile like 400 and something. So I know there's a lot more in store. What is the next mile for you?
For me, the next mile is not what like a lot of people think. They just think a lot of action. Like, I pray a lot. I'm like really, really into, communing with God. And so for me personally, the direction that I got for next year is not what I would probably plan, but it's just like listening and mentorship. Me being mentored, not being the mentor. And so, which is interesting, because it's a different dynamic than what I would originally plan for. And so it's about listening and being purposeful and intentional, but about being in community with the right people. Because again, you run your own company, you do this, like I run my own business, I might own this and da-da-da-da-da. It's a lot of singularity in that. And I already for a lot of years have done life alone or pretty solo. And it's just like, for me, apparently, to get to this next season of where I'm supposed to go, this very next mile is one, on not doing life alone, but then two, paying attention and listening and being intentional about the mentors and the who I'm spending time with as well. Again, which is interesting for me because it's not the like go get them all out action. Not saying that there won't be any action, but I know that that's my very next step and my very next mile.
Okay, and so digging into that, I'll be honest, mentorship is not something that I am super familiar with, just because I'm kind of the same way as you mentioned. I've just done a lot of stuff on my own in my life, mainly because I felt like nobody was going to do it but me, or nobody was going to, care about what I had an interest in as much as I did. So, when I was doing music, I started recording myself because I didn't know anybody who recorded. When I started learning about audio engineering because nobody I knew did that. I started making beats for the same reason. All these steps in the journey was mainly because didn't have nobody else to do it.
Right.
Didn't know how to find somebody else to do it. Didn't think anybody would care. So it seems like you have a little bit more of an experience with mentorship, being the mentor and also seeking a mentor. So what is it that you are looking for in a mentor? What do you look for in a mentor specifically for you? And what would you recommend for people who are searching for a mentor? What are the things that they need to keep in mind?
So for me, I will say it's kind of like you can't have one without the other almost. Like you can't be a mentor without a mentor, and you can't be the mentee without mentoring. So it's weird. But the thing is, like, I initially thought you needed to have qualifications for a mentor to certain things that you're looking for and this, that, or whatever. And the funny thing is that you don't find a mentor. Your mentor finds you. And your mentor only finds you when you're in action and doing the things and you're super intentional and super focused about moving forward in your vision, that they even see you. Because a lot of people, they ask for a mentor, and when you ask and you approach that mentor, you are invisible to them. Not because you're insignificant or what you're doing is not, it doesn't have a purpose, but because you're not doing the work. And somewhere about your mentality is not where it should be to be in the place of submission to listen. And so you're not even visible to them because they'll say it's a time thing and they are not for you wasting their time. But honestly, that's what it is. You're not in a place of listening, because if they told you something that maybe you've done a couple times before and you failed at it, or you got some experience with it, you're going to say, I already done that before. You're not ready. You know what I'm saying? You're not ready. And they know that. And there's certain things that you say, a certain countenance that you have, that is, again, they find you. And that's only about you moving. It's like if every day you go to the sandbox and you are digging through the sand, at some point, somebody going to see already moving in their purpose, in their direction of where they're supposed to be going. They may walk this same path every Tuesday at 6:00, but you're in that sandbox every day, digging for whatever you're looking for. At some point, you're going to make a ruckus. At some point, you're going to make a pile outside the sandbox because your hands just dirty. You sweaty, you stink, you've been out grinding. And somebody that says, I'm in that business, I do that, say, hey, what are you doing? Oh man, I'm down here digging. I read a book that says, the riches are in the sandbox. And they're like, oh, how long you been digging? Man, I've been coming out here for 3 months. Every day. And they'll come in and then they find you. You don't find them. They only found you though because you was doing the work. You were head and nose first, getting your hands dirty, not paying attention to who was helping you, who was doing it, or whatever. You was only focused on the vision and the achievement of that thing, and your mentor or they found you. And so again, when you're being a mentor, it may be somebody like may have people come up, and I'm gonna stick with the sandbox analogy. May have people come up and say, hey man, I've always wanted to do that. But if you always wanted to do it, you would be doing it. At some point, you have to step beyond your excuses. And again, that's how your mentor finds you, because you just left your sandbox. You done for the day. You dirty. You still stink. You look a mess. You know what I'm saying? You filthy. You look like you've been digging in a sandbox. But when you walk past somebody else and you see that they're digging, but they're not as far as what you've done and stuff like that, it's the same premise. You found them, your mentee, because you decided you wanted to help you. Same thing. It's just like, what are you digging for? And they give you a response that just kind of triggers something in your ear, something in your spirit or whatever. And you like, it'd be easier if you used a scooper. Here, use this scooper and try it this way. And maybe you come back and check on them just to see if they applied what you said. And not only did they do that, they went and did some research. They found a book on it. So now you found a mentee, because not only did they take what you said, they went the extra mile to dig more into finding more about that. And so it's that process just continues. But your mentor, like, you not go to a mentor and say, hey, I found you, because you are disturbing them. They're digging, they're working, they're putting in the effort. They don't have time to pay attention to you because they're losing daylight. But they found you working, grinding, and putting in the work.
Man, you just put me on game right there. That was deep, because you just made me realize that I don't think I've really had that mentor yet, but I've definitely tried to be that to some people and on certain things, and I didn't even realize it. You just opened my eyes to that.
So, I mean, it's a really interesting concept, because I made the same mistakes like anybody else did. Like, I had my first mentor when I was 22 years old. And so, like, again, this whole entrepreneurship, I started my business in 2016, but I was introduced to personal development and just something being more than working a job when I was 22. And so I found my first mentor by that, because they saw something like that. They just asked a question. Like, what are you reading? I was reading a tax book, you know what I'm saying? Because I would hear in a meeting people talking about this, and you can write off this in your business, but nobody was saying how to do it. Digging through YouTube, through videos, through forums, and everything else on the internet, I found this book. And it's just like, again, for this particular person in this book, you're not reading that book unless you've been digging. So again, I didn't find a mentor. The mentor found me. And anybody who I asked before I did any work, said no. So it's just like, it's like, I don't care what you're doing or what field you're in. It's just like that. I have seen work time and time again. And it's weird how it works, but it just does.
That's amazing. And I definitely think anybody who's listening got some value out of that, because I know I did. That was amazing. Is there anything else that you want to say? Before we end off, I just want to, there is one thing that I always want to ask everybody who comes on this podcast. What would you say is the one piece of advice that you've gotten in your walk, in your journey, that has stood out over all others? What was that one piece of advice that, just to this day, no matter how long it was ago, that has stuck with you and just will never leave your brain? What was that piece of advice?
I would say journal your thoughts every day. And to that, capture your thoughts every day. And the reason why is because in a world with so much noise, we're fighting for silence. Whereas before, everybody's trying to make noise. And now we're fighting for silence. So when you find time and you find space, or better yet, you make time and you make space for silence, don't just let that fade away. Capture it. And so journaling has been something that I've carried with me. It has helped me through emotional traumas that, you just have by living life and getting through things. But also, again, to capture those ideas that when inspiration hits you, maybe you can't act on it right now, but you can still bring that thing that's in the air, that idea that's just only floating in your brain, and make it a reality when you add it to paper, because now it's on a physical something that you can touch. And that means you have now provided the opportunity to put that thing to work. You just brought the invisible to the visible, the intangible to the tangible. And it's not trying to get all woo woo or whatever, but it's like, it's legit, write the vision, make it plain. So that one thing has propelled me in everything, because again, from building relationships to growing, in personal development and stuff like that, nothing else happened until I got silent and silenced myself and got silent. And that made me telling, like, I would call my best friend, like, hey, for the next 30 days, I'm not available to talk or text. Why? What's going on? Everything okay? Man, everything's going to be great. All I can tell you right now, I'm not available to talk, because I had to make time for silence. And in those times, I would write and journal, and I still have those journals. And it's things that I still do to this day that have propelled me forward, that came by way of finding silence but then two, utilizing it to capture my thoughts and put those things to work.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Diana Gladney, the woman, the myth, the legend. I am so happy that you were the first guest on this podcast, because like I knew you was deep. I knew you had I knew you had depths that I had not yet explored, but I didn't know it was this deep. So I'm glad I got a chance to know you better. I'm glad the audience got a chance to know you, and we definitely gonna have to do this again sometime, because this was an amazing conversation for me. Like, you put me on game, you taught me some things, and I know anybody who's out there listening who is thinking about starting their business, starting their walk, starting that 1,000-mile journey, that they got some jewels out of this too. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute honor. Thank you so much.
And just real quick before you get out of here, tell the people where they can find you, because I'm sure some of them are curious and would like to hear and see more of you.
So for sure, if you want to see more, it would be on YouTube, and that's Entre Woman TV, like Entrepreneur Woman TV. But you can just search my name, Diana Gladney, and it will come up as well. And then always you connect with me at dianagladney.com, anywhere on the social spaces.
All right, so that is it for this first episode of the 1,000-Mile Podcast. I am your host, Alex Miner of I Am Media, and I will see y'all next time. Thank you for listening.